Hey there YouTube, it's Paul Oz here once again. Today I have a really important thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. Tendinitis. It's a pretty nasty thing to get. It affects your fingers, into your hands, into your wrists, into your elbows, into your shoulders sometimes. And as musicians, it's debilitating. I personally have had it a couple of times, maybe a grand total of 3 times. And as much as very recently, I had to deal with it again. This time it was a lot more scary because I actually had to prepare to play at NAMM for the Neural DSP booth. And it was a lot of stress because I also had some company from out of town. I was going through some life changes as well around the same time. It was very stressful. So that definitely contributed to the tendinitis. As well, I happened to be practicing on a guitar that had a 26.5-inch scale length. Regularly I was practicing on this guitar, and that definitely was detrimental to my hands because they just weren't used to the tension yet. And I had tried changing string gauges, I had tried to warm up beforehand, but it seemed that this time the tendinitis was inevitable. And as such, I felt a pretty severe pain right here in my hand. Now, I will give you a disclaimer on this video. I'm not a medical professional, and you should definitely seek medical attention if you find that you are having actual issues with your hands. This video is just to explain to you guys what I had to go through in order to rehabilitate myself and get back into fighting shape on the guitar. So for me, it was like this. I've always had kind of personal trainers as friends for some reason. I've always had a few people in my life who are far too interested in fitness and nothing else. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But these people definitely pushed me to understand how my body works and things like that. And it definitely helped me earlier when I had the tendinitis the first time, because it was really, well actually no, it was the second time. The first time I was solo, I was kind of screwed. I didn't know what I was going to do. But the second time through, I knew that I had some friends with some knowledge. And this last time, I went to a sports therapist and I asked them, what can I possibly do to get in shape on time for playing gigs and for playing the guitar again? They said, well, rest is ultimately super helpful, but have you tried using, fish oils? Have you tried drinking far more water and trying to de-stress, meditate, whatever? And that all sounded kind of like hokey. I'm not gonna lie, it sounded hokey as hell. And the meditation didn't really do much other than like relax me a lot, and I definitely needed that because I was under intense amounts of pressure to finish a set list in like 2 weeks time and perform it, and the pressure was on big time. So the meditation helped with that aspect of things. Now, whether that contributed to less stress, I don't know. I'm fairly high strung when it comes to music. I like things to be perfect, as most musicians do. And I definitely went through some learning that way. But then I started to take fish oils, and I started to take, I believe it's called chondroitin. And basically, the biggest piece of advice I got from this sports therapist was, pretend like you have arthritis. And it just dawned on me like, wow, this is actually a pretty good way to scare the crap out of a guitar player. Pretend like you have arthritis. What would you do? How would you treat it? How would you treat your body differently? That was definitely some interesting, insightful questions that I started to ask myself. And I still ask myself, okay, am I doing the right thing? I felt a pain the other week and I was like, oh, I know where this can go. I happen to play the same guitar that gave me the tendinitis in the first place. So there will be another video talking about guitars and what do's and don'ts in terms of positioning and scale lengths and string gauges. But for those of you who are interested, I took fish oils, chondroitin, I believe, or chondroitin. I don't know exactly what how it's pronounced. And I took, all right, I had to Google it. I started to take creatine as well. And in the wintertime, so I gained like 5 pounds, but within about 6 weeks, I was okay. I was okay. I was able to play guitar. And I avoided doing really difficult, strenuous legato runs. I avoided playing 26.5-inch scale guitars until the day of the performance. I actually played my multi-scale 8-string to prepare for the performances that I had to give, because the multi-scale nature of that guitar allowed me to bend the strings a lot more easily and with a lot less effort, which really helped out my digits. So there you go, folks. Fish oils, creatine, chondroitin, a hell of a lot more water. I tried to sleep as much as possible, and I reduced my acidic food intake massively. And the easiest way for someone to do that, for those of you who love coffee, for example, because coffee is quite acidic, is either to put some baking soda, I believe, in coffee, which sounds ridiculous, but Google it, there's some benefits to that because it removes lots of the acidity. Or you can simply have lemon water. Now, lemon is acidic, but I believe the way that your body metabolizes it after the fact, it's actually an alkaline thing. So I kind of combated all this acidity and all this stress and negativity with lemon water after my 3 coffees in the morning that would stress me out to the point where I'm shaking. So that's basically it, folks. It's a messy process because it was not clear to me in terms of what I could do to help myself, and I feel like there needs to be way more resources out there. If you have had tendinitis, what did you do? How did you solve it for yourself? I'm curious to understand what other people's experiences have been. My experience has been largely depressing up until this last one, where I didn't play guitar for about 2.5 weeks straight. And as such, I let my hands kind of recover. I wasn't exercising at all because it would just seem to inflame things in my hands. Like, I was very careful. I suppose the last thing I will impart to you guys is using the athlete's cold and hot water bath for your hands is genius. If you have 5 minutes before a show, you should be warmed up, right? Well, this thing works immediately for me. All that I do is I run my hands under quite cold water until they can't stand it, and then I switch the tap off and turn on the hot water. Not to the point where you're scalding yourself, okay, folks? Again, I'm not a medical professional, and I do not claim responsibility for any advice that you guys take from me in this regard. But I would use hot water as well until it kind of pumped some new blood into the very tiny veins inside of my hands. Worked like a charm, works like a charm every single time. When I go on tour this summer, I'm gonna do the exact same thing. I want my hands to be fresh. And if I don't have a chance to pick up my guitar right before the set, I'm definitely gonna be running to a bathroom just to make sure that my hands are at least with some new oxygenated blood. Finally, I think in closing, guys, if you are interested in more of this kind of content, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel. It helps a lot. I'm on the road to 10,000 subscribers this year. I want it to happen. Please share this video if you found it helpful. And again, I'm not a medical professional, but like, this stuff worked for me. Therefore, it is worth it to do your own research and see if it's going to work for you as well, especially if you're hurting. My big thing about this YouTube channel is to alleviate as much suffering as possible when it comes to guitar playing. It's such a fun thing to do. Why should we be in pain while we're doing it? You know what I mean? That's where I'm coming from. Anyways, that's all for now, YouTube. I'll catch you later. Cheers.